Hello, friends. Today I wanted to talk about epistemic bubbles and echo chambers, as well as their significance in contemporary American politics. We will define each of them. We will talk about which one is more dangerous and how one can escape them, right? So a good place to start would be defining epistemology. So epistemology is the branch of philosophy that is concerned with knowledge, or in more complicated terms, the investigation of justified true beliefs, meaning all three between justified, true, and belief is sufficient to be deemed knowledge. There are exceptions which are examined in the Gettier cases, but we won't be getting into that today. A huge part of epistemic bubbles and echo chambers are justification for a belief through testimony. Again, it's a justified belief, but it is not knowledge, because it is not a justified true belief. The justification through testimony is significant because it represents the sources that people use and where they place their trust in their consumption of media, right? Okay, enough about explaining and defining knowledge. Let's explain and define echo chambers and epistemic bubbles. So, I'm not sure how to pronounce this guy's last name. It is a very popular Vietnamese last name. It's spelled Nguyen. I believe it's pronounced Wen. I'm not sure, but in Wen's essay, Escape the Echo Chamber, which I'll link in the description, gives a good distinction between the terms. This is a quote from the essay. In epistemic bubbles, other voices are not heard. In echo chambers, other voices are actively undermined. End quote. So this distinction is very important because we can instantly recognize one as being far more dangerous than the other, right? With epistemic bubbles, you can simply expose the members to information and arguments that they may have missed, and then they'll be back on track to being epistemically healthy, right? But with echo chambers, they do not need to survive off its members' bad connection to other sources of information. This is because they can hear opposing views, but instantly dismiss them because they do not trust the source. Echo chambers are so dangerous that differing views can even reinforce the views of those within the echo chamber. A very relevant example in the United States would be Donald Trump's presidency and the supporters of Donald Trump. We have all heard the term fake news due to it being popularized by our president. If somehow you haven't, I assume you don't live in the United States, but in essence, any media coverage that portrayed him or his campaign negatively would be deemed as fake news by his followers, or even sometimes Donald Trump himself, right? This makes it so that his followers are protected from being exposed to contrary evidence, and basically make it so that their beliefs are always rigged to support Trump. Okay? So you, a person outside this echo chamber, might say, isn't this like really obvious? How could these people possibly be acting in good faith? Do they have brain damage? But for the case of Trump's presidency, perhaps many of those in the echo chamber first encountered it when it was at its infancy, the echo chamber's infancy, right? And perhaps at this point there were fewer flaws, or they were not as blatant, But since this person is now already trapped within the echo chamber, all the information received by this person will be consumed completely differently from a person that is not. Don't get me wrong, of course there are people who are not the brightest or are lazy or aren't acting in good faith, but this certainly isn't Donald Trump's entire base, which a lot of people on the left seem to think, right? So another question you may ask yourself is, well, like, what can you do about this? Like, what the fuck do you do, right? Well, I should start by saying that the difficulty of escaping an echo chamber can vary greatly. If someone exists within an echo chamber community where they believe that the black side in chess is advantageous to the white side, I don't actually know if which side is advantageous or if there's an advantage. That's besides the point. That echo chamber is far easier to escape when compared to something like radical conservatism, right? This is because conservatism it's political and social with fundamental values, right? So instead of suspending, examining, and then potentially ridding of one belief, they would have to do it for every belief. But getting people to rid of all their fundamental beliefs is not necessarily the most pragmatic approach to dismantling echo chambers. The real antidote is having a person within an echo chamber trust someone outside of an echo chamber. There are many hypotheticals I could give, but one I'm going to give right now would be a conservative teenager that grew up in an all-white suburb and had never met a transgender person in their entire life and holds non-ally views, okay? If the conservative teenager were to then meet a transgender person, perhaps when going off to college, and were able to possibly make a connection with this person and formed a bond where they could trust them, then they could use the transgender person as a source of information, a source that exists outside of the echo chamber, right? This could lead the conservative teenager to perhaps realizing the echo chamber, which dehumanized this group in which they resided, was wrong. This could then lead them to reconsidering the other beliefs that were developed within the echo chamber. Obviously, this is a super specific hypothetical, and there are many, many, many other examples that could be used. But the main takeaway should be that, yes, unfortunately, you have to be able to make connections with people within an echo chamber in order to change their mind. And you also have to have them trust you. Way more difficult than just calling them brain dead on Twitter. I completely agree, but that will never, 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 ever get people to stop believing in the things that they believe. Also, throughout this whole spiel that I gave, I pretty much only talked about the existence of echo chambers on the right and with MAGA, but they obviously exist on the left as well, albeit on a much smaller scale, while also being much less dangerous. So overall, I don't believe everyone should go out of their way to try to break free others from an echo chamber or help them change their beliefs, although I think it would be great if more people did. I just think it is important to know that when something is blatantly wrong for you, that it can be interpreted completely differently for others, and sometimes no amount of bashing or attacking their views will get them to realize their view is incorrect, right? So that's going to be everything for today. I hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.